Hi, Dwayne. Ian from BBC Wales. Nice to see you.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm good, thank you. Obviously, want to ask you about Lee Halfpenny shortly, but in terms of how you guys are doing after the weekend and that heavy defeat, what's the reaction been like, and what are you expecting to come at the weekend against the Stormers?
Yeah, obviously disappointment, isn't it? I think that it was a tough afternoon. There's no point hiding around that. It was the game itself was very, very physical. The conditions were very tough. And it was a tough afternoon for everyone. I think that a couple of comments that I had from players is that, the conditions itself were very, very difficult. But I do think that we came up against a team who were on fire at the time, and we spoke about having to stay with them in that first period of the game, and we didn't manage to do so. And I think that some from our errors, some from good play from them. The physicality of their play, the speed of their play at times was tough to manage. I thought at halftime, to be honest, going in 28-14 down, thought we'd done well in that last 10 minutes to come back a bit and score two nice tries. And it was all about starting well in that second half, and we didn't do that. I think we kicked carelessly, and they managed to get a 50-22 on us, and then we couldn't repel the pressure. And I think a couple of tries then gets their tails up. We've been here before, a couple of years back, and I remember my time at Ulster we came as well. And when the African sides do get on top of you, it's difficult to hold them. And I think that, the lessons we learn from that is you have to be accurate in what we're doing, and you have to try and stay in the game, as we have done when we've played them in the past. We beat that Bull side, same side 4 months ago. And we just didn't manage to cope with it. So look, I think there's disappointment obviously in the group. There's a bit of frustration in there as well. A couple of boys who obviously had their first taste of URC rugby will have obviously had their eyes opened a bit, with that level of physicality and speed. But look, we have to improve for this week.
Yeah, you mentioned young players. Obviously, more young players getting opportunities that they might not have otherwise had now, given the landscape in Welsh rugby, and which is a good thing. But how does it affect them? Does it affect them, detrimentally if you're getting hammered like that?
Well, look, I think that the lessons for everyone in that game, and I think that young or old, there's lessons in that game. So it's a one game, and I think that it's important to recognise that as well. And I think that it's the first game of the season. Yes, we lost by 60 points. Okay, right, that's fine. We move on and we make sure that we build as the season goes ahead. And I've got no doubt within this group, there's quality within the group. There's quality to come back in the group. So it's not hitting the panic button off the wall, really, is the honest truth of it. Yes, we had a nasty defeat, but that's the reality, and we have to move on. We have a big, massive challenge this week, playing against a side who reached the final in the last 2 years. So it's going to be a big occasion again, and it's another big challenge for us. That's on South African soil, and that's the challenge. So I appreciate that there's an angle around us losing heavily, and that's fine. Like, we'll take that on the chin, no problem. We lost heavily. I've been in the Scarlets sides when I played, and we've lost heavily, and then we've gone on to to do some really good things in the same season. And it's not a case of panic stations by any means. We have to improve week on week. The South African trip is always a tough one. And we're here again without a lot of our senior players and international players, which we seem to have a habit of doing when we're coming here. So look, it's continuous work on for us, and we'll keep working hard in training and in games for this season, definitely.
Yeah, obviously it's disappointing, isn't it, when you've sort of had 6 months without a game, and then you lose the first one. But I mean, the same for all the regions, Dwayne, isn't it? I mean, it was a disappointing weekend across the board for all four teams. Is that just a reflection of where the regions are at the moment in terms of the transition, the challenges, the squad sizes, all those kind of things?
Well, no, I wouldn't. Look, I don't really, but it is what it is. Like, we have to improve. Obviously, we have to be competitive, but we got beaten by a score. The other games were really close. There's a number of good players to come back into the regions. So look, it's the first game of the season. There's no panic from my end, particularly. And I think that look, we'll improve. I know we will improve, and that's sort of where I'm at with it, really. And I think there's a narrative around, yes, we lost, but like we lost by 60 points. I mentioned to Gareth Owen on the podcast yesterday that it doesn't. Saracens lost by 60 points 2 weeks ago. Well, we know that they're going to be there or thereabouts by the end of the season. There's no doubt. So I think that they're the English champions. So like it's again, we have to recognise that it was a poor loss for us and a heavy loss. Yes, but we move on, and I think that we make sure that the next couple of weeks that we get back to work, and when we do get a couple of players back post that Barbarians game, a couple of World Cup players of Ifafitas available again next week. So look, it's we've got a lot of quality to come back in, and the experiences that these young kids are having now will bode well for them in the future, definitely.
Anyone back for this weekend, Dwayne? Let's talk of Josh McLeod. No?
Josh is with us, travelled with us. He's probably not going to be right for this weekend, but very, very close.
Okay. In terms of, thank you for that. In terms of Lee Halfpenny, obviously the news today that he has retired from Wales. What are your thoughts on that, Dwayne? I just wonder whether you could sum up his career at international level, given the fact, you were in the team, you came off the bench when he made his debut 15 years ago, in terms of how good a player he's been for Wales. How would you sum it up?
He's been one of the best players. Look at his best full backs, especially. I think that what he's done for Wales, and I think the way because what you don't recognise with Pence, obviously, like people talk about big men and the physical stature. He's not, he's not a big man, and what he's done is command that position. I think in terms of genuine full back play, ball, receiving kicks, ball, pitch coverage, and all that. He's been the best. He's been the best that we've seen of that. I think. I think that his goal kicking has been phenomenal, but I think in terms of his backfield positioning, he's the best I've seen, definitely, in terms of covering space and command in the air. And I think that for him as well, especially commanding the air, not being a big man, I think that's testament to the work. What I do know about him, he's an obsessive. He's an obsessive character. He trains and he puts so much time and effort into his craft. His goal kicking, he'd be out there for hours, and I know that he'll say himself he's obsessed with it. And I think that he doesn't like failure in that department, and so. But I think that that's testament that he's a competitor and he wants to compete. So look, I think he's been a fantastic player. I think he's won pretty much, obviously, World Cup aside. How many titles with Wales? 4 titles. 4 titles. Lions, 2 Lions tours, or 3 Lions. Correct me if I'm wrong. 2 Lions tours, I believe. But I think that he's been fantastic. 100 caps as well. So look, fair play to him. I think he's been great in the red shirt. So I'm really pleased for him and Jess and the family that he's gone and got that 100 caps as well, because I know that meant a lot to him.
He's obviously without a club at the moment, having left the Scarlets. Do you think he's still got a lot to offer for a club side somewhere, wherever he ends up?
Yeah, I'm sure he has. I think what he will do is he commands respect around the place, and I think that even for the younger guys with us, and I know from our perspective, like we obviously weren't able to hold on, but I think that what he will give in that sort of mentor role will be huge. I think that, and I think that just young guys seeing his work day to day is obviously big, and I think that young kickers, especially seeing his preparation and how meticulous he is in his preparation, I think is great, and I think that I'm sure he'll one day step potentially into that sort of skills role or backs role or whatever he wants to do in coaching. But when he does do that, I think he'll be able to pass on a bit of that experience as well.
Thank you, Dwayne. Nice to talk to you. All the best of the weekend. Thank you.
Hey, Dwayne, how are you?
I'm doing all right.
Yeah, good. In terms of the game on the weekend, obviously stating the obvious to say that you know, the Bulls obviously did a number on you physically up front. Is that going to be the big challenge this season, not just for the Scarlets but for the other regions as well, just getting things right physically? Because obviously we haven't got the depth of other nations and the size either.
I think that is a part to play with it. I think definitely, obviously, there's no question on the weekend that they had a lot of quality in that front in their forward pack. And even the guys they brought off the bench, Aka van der Merwe, who played for Sale in the Premiership final end of last season. Bringing someone like him off the bench, just shows they got a lot of depth and a lot of quality and a lot of big men. I think that I think they were missing Van Staden, but I think that's about it, if I'm right, Steph, in terms of their World Cup guys and their Springbok. So yeah, they're a good outfit, obviously, and I think that physically, especially at the Veld in Loftus, they're a daunting task for anyone. That's the truth of it. They're a daunting task for anyone up there. It's a very difficult place, very difficult conditions. But there's a mentality thing around the physicality. Yeah, potentially. Like, what I would say is, we managed to hold them a couple of months back at home. I think away is a different prospect, is the honest truth, Steph. I think they're a tough team at home. So look, and yeah, and I think for us as well, the physicality part of it was one thing. I think we probably didn't. There was a period around 14 minutes where they were 14-0. We missed an opportunity to score a try. A line break down the edge, we didn't convert. So those things start getting on top of you. And what I would say is, like, they're a momentum side, the Bulls. And I think once they get on top of you and they start that offloading game and they get behind you, it's very difficult to hold. So look, to hold them, you're gonna have to be accurate in what you're doing, And I think that we probably weren't as accurate as we'd like, if in all honesty, when you look at the game.
Can I just ask? I know he's not in South Africa with you, but is there any update on when or if Ken Owens will return to action?
I haven't got an update at the moment. He's obviously still going through his rehab post his operation. So look, he's going to be a while, if I'm honest, Steph. I think is the honest truth. I've got no update further than that, really.
Yeah, is Ryan Elias long term as well, or is that more short term?
I'm hoping Ryan will be short term.
Okay, in terms of the pack, is there any scope to strengthen that this season, or will you have to wait till next season in terms of external recruitment?
As it stands, we are where we are. Until potentially there's an opportunity. If an opportunity arises, then we'd be able to do it. Obviously from our perspective, we're always continuously looking for all players, not only in the pack, but what we have to do is make sure we got all the young boys in this pack and make sure that we coach them hard. And because like I said, it's the first game of the season, they'll be better for that. I've been there myself as a player. You get a nasty loss, and then you have to learn and adapt, really, and be resilient to that. So look, we just got to make sure that people likes of Carwyn, the likes of Ben, the likes of Jack Price, the likes of Morgan Jones, these boys have to push on and make sure that they're getting better all the time.
Yeah, we're talking to Joe Roberts next. I suppose he was one of the positives, wasn't he, from Sunday's game? Tom Rogers, the other one. Just what have you made of Joe Roberts since you've been at the club? Because he obviously had injuries when he was younger, didn't he? But he's really made a big impression over the last 18 months or so.
Yeah, so when I first got Jay, he was injured, and then the honest truth is I didn't know much about him at all, really. This is the truth when I got there. And I knew he was a graduate, but you could see straight away that he had a bit of edge about him when he started training, and he had the physicality, I think, and the speed to cope with playing at top level. And then it was about giving him opportunity and finding opportunity for him. And I think that that sort of first season, he gradually made his way into the squad or the team. By the end of the season, had a nasty injury against the Stormers, literally in the last play of the last game of the season, and then he was out again till Christmas of last year. But look, I've been very keen to get him in the squad because I think what he does give you, he gives you speed and power in that 13 channel, and he gives you a bit of edge, and I like that he's got that hunger in him. He's one that's got potential, leadership qualities as well. as a young man, and I know that, you know, being from the town, Llanelli town, he loves playing with the Scarlets as well. So yeah, look, I really enjoyed working with him. He's a good character, and yeah, he's been good, and I think there's a lot of more growth in him as well. That's the exciting part, you know. I'm touching every bit of wood I can, you know. I know he's had a few injuries, that he can have a season where he's injury free. I know he's just coming back off an operation. He's only really been in training with us the last 2 weeks, so you know, for him to put 80 minutes on the park on the weekend in those tough conditions is great for him, really.
Great, thanks, Dwayne, and good luck in the weekend.
Okay, fine, yeah, man.
Simon, how are you?
Yeah, just a quick. Yeah, I mean, I watched the Stormers Lions game at the weekend, and they were very impressed in the first half, but then Lions could have pushed in, made it quite a contest in the second half. Are you seeing a similar kind of challenge to the Stormers, or do they present kind of different strengths? And I guess things for you to focus on from yourself as well.
Yeah, similar in some ways. So in terms of when they go on top of you, they're very physical and they keep the gain line. What I would say about the Stormers is, from a back's perspective, they're very sharp out wide. You know, they want to play. You know, they want to play expansive rugby. And what they have is, like, they're razor sharp on transition, on turnover, well, similar to what the Bulls were last week. You know, they hurt us on the transition, but I think the Stormers are, you know, are renowned for that. Scored a lot of tries within the first 3 phases, be it launches or turnover. So that's the challenge, I think. You know, you have to be accurate. You know, we had a good game against them last year in Cape Town. We at halftime we were very close, and we pushed them really for 60 minutes, and we just, a couple of errors gave them the turnovers that we knew they were deadly at. But yeah, look, I think it's going to be a lot of similar challenges. Evan Roos in particular, Eight's a cracking player. Diamante's a cracking player. So you know, we'll have to really keep an eye on those 2 boys.
The cards fall the way they do, Dwayne. It's always going to be tough starting off at 2 games in South Africa. You've had a challenging start, but when you come home to Wales on the back of this second game, what do you really want to take home with you that you've learned and built on and improved on this weekend?
Well, I think there's a couple of things. Look, we've managed. We didn't have much training last week because obviously we got up to Pretoria late on Wednesday, and then it was obviously getting used to the altitude, etc., and getting over the travel. The big thing for us is that we come away with a lot of young boys who haven't done much touring before, and that is part of it as well. You know, that experiencing the heat of going away, experience being in a different country and testing that out, and a bit of togetherness. And look, we had a good session today, which boys trained really well this morning. So look, it's all about developing our game and keeping pushing forward. But as always, these South Africa trips, you have to come away from there feeling that you bonded a bit, and it has helped us in the last 2 years. Granted, the first 2 games of the season is always going to be a tough one. When the fixture list came out, I was like, oh, that's going to be tough there, because we knew we haven't got our World Cup players. You know, Vi's unavailable as you know, an international player. Ken's not with us, so you know, we are missing a lot of experience left at home. So I think that the young boys, having those young boys together out here, and they've been great. You know, they've really they really ripped in, and so that's part of it as well. You know, we have to enjoy the experience and to get a bit of bond and togetherness. And that's why this weekend's game is obviously a tough challenge for us. But again, it's about how we bounce back, seeing who's got the not the guts is the wrong word, but who's got the resilience to bounce back this week is going to be interesting from a coach perspective as well. And I think that that's something that we've spoken about, definitely.
Cheers, Dwayne. All the best the weekend.
So, just i ddechrau fo, Dwayne, yn amlwg ddo'n i at Lee Halfpenny mewn ychydig, ond so, allu di ddisgrifio gychwyn efo sgwlwch yn dda, be mae'r awyrgylch wedi bod fel yn Ne Affrica ymysg chdi ar garfan ar ôl yr ergyd na golli erbyn y Bulls yn y gêm agoriadol?
Yn amlwg, mae lot o siom yn bwyty'r garfan, chael mae pawb yn siomedig ar canlyniad. A gweddi o'r perfformiad, oedd yr amgylchiadau'n galed dros ben. Yn amlwg fod lan yr altitude a ddim boeth iawn yn y gêm. Ond, a i fod yn onest, o'n nhw'n lot mwy gorfforol na ni ar y diwrnod, chybod, o'n nhw'n boes mawr. A gaethon nhw gaethon nhw mantais le o'n nhw'n ennill y llinell fantais a maen nhw'n wastad yn mynd i fod yn dîm anodd i giro pan maen nhw'n cael y cyfle yna, chymod. Felly, amlwg yn siomedig, ni lawr yn Stellenbosch nawr a neud siŵr bod y perfformiad wrthos hyn a gweithio'n galed i weld, i cael ymateb wrthos hyn. Achos mae'n mynd i fod yn dasg yn yr un mor galed wrthos hyn a beth oedd i wrthos diwetha gan ystyried bod y Stormers wedi cyrraedd y rown derfynol. Mae'n flin dy fi yn y doi UAC diwetha.
O, dyna'n o'n i am ofyn, so maen nhw'n gyn bencampwyr yn amlwg fel ti'n sôn, nhw wedi colli'r rownd derfynol, y rownd tymor dwytha lle. Sut fath o her da chi'n disgwyl yn erbyn nhw y penwythnos yma, achos dydy mynd ddim haws yn y bencampwriaeth yma na di?
Bendant. Dwi ddim yn haws. Maen nhw'n dîm cryf, maen nhw'n dîm gorfforol, ond maen nhw'n dîm cyflym iawn hefyd, le maen nhw'n dda iawn yw. Os yn golli'n y bêl, neu maen nhw'n troi gormod y pêl dryso, maen nhw'n gallu rhoi doler i chi yn yr ardal ni. Felly, mae rhaid bod ni ar yn gorau yn edrych ar ôl y pêl, mae rhaid bod ni'n cico'n cywir am ddiffyn i goffa fod yn gorfforol iawn wrthos hyn, os yn ni moyn cystadlu, achos os na ydych chi'n dangos awch i cystadlu gyda'r Stormers, fel mae'n mynd i fod yn diwrnod hir dros ben, mae'n siŵr.
Do'n i at Lee Halfpenny yn amlwg, oeddach chdi yno pam nath o chwarae gêm ryngwladol dros Gymru 15 mlynedd yn ôl yn erbyn De Affrica, ac ti'n gwybod, ers hynny ti wedi cael y fraint o'i hyfforddi fo ar lefel ranbarthol. Just a ti wedi ddisgrifio, os ti'n gallu, o ystyried be wedi gyflawni i'w glybio fo i ranbarthol, ond hefyd yn amlwg i Gymru a'r llewod. Allu di ddisgrifio i gyfraniad o i rygbi yma yng Nghymru dros y blynyddoedd, os gwelwch yn dda?
Mae gyfraniad wedi bod yn enfawr. Chybod, ynglyn â wisgo Crys Cymru, mae wedi bod lan gyda Goreion yn wedi yn wisgo Crys 15. Mae sgiliau sylfaenol fel cefnwr yn arbennig, byddwn ni'n gweud. Fel mae stroli'r tir yn y cefen, fel mae fe wedi stroli'r rawyr, really, a hefyd, i gicio fe, mae wedi bod ni'r cicwyr gorau yn y byd. Ond beth wedyn ni bwyta fe, mae'r strwyth yn rhoi at wythnos, mae'r amser mae'n rhoi mewn i grefft. Hwna sy i fi sy wedi dod i fe ar wahân i pawb arall. Chwarae yr amser a faint mor drylwr mae fe gyda'i cicio a gyda'i grefft. Mae fe'n personoliaeth sy'n rhoi 100% i'r Crys, 100% i'r gêm, a mae dylai fe fod yn browd iawn o beth mae wedi cyflawni, bendant.
Ac just o ran y ffaith yn gwybod, sgyn o ddim clwb ar y munud, ond mae wedi dweud fod o wedi ymddeol o rygbi rynadol, felly mae'n bwriadol dal i bara eisiau chwarae fel ar lefel clwb. Be fysa chdi'n dweud amdano fo ran, ti'n meddwl gen i fod digon i gynnig fel chwaraewr o ystyried rwan bod o'n dod tuag at diwedd ei yrfa fel chwaraewr?
Mae bendant bod y fe pethau chi i gyfrannu. Mae'n chwaraewr dda, mae wedi newid yn ôl o cwpan y byd, a hefyd i fi, mae'n amlwg fel o boes ifanc, mae'n gallu rhoi siwgwmyd i boes ifanc ynglyn â ffordd i paratoi, a bydden ni wedi mwynhau gallu cadw fe, ond oedd y sefyllfa ar y funud ddim yn ffafriol, ond beth wedyn ni'n gweud yw byddai'n mynd i roi siwgwmyd i'r boes ifanc, tybleif y tro nesaf, tybleif y nawr i ware, ynglyn â fel maen nhw'n paratoi y strwythyr, achos mae'n chwaraewr proffesiynol dros ben.